welcome guys back to my first episode. I haven't done this in a while. You will see the black bars. There's nothing to do it, it's just PowerPoint and how it handles things. So this is a PowerPoint presentation and I'll be going through my ideas for you to choose a game. This game will be recorded completely, every aspect of it, that I can really record. So I just got my coffee here, just let me take a sip of it. Beautiful. Just what I needed. You know I'm tired when coffee tastes like water and it's got no sugars in it. You take your coffee, regardless. Let's talk about the games. So there's three of them: 2D action platformer, a battle arena, and a clone of Binding of Isaac. Okay. So we'll talk about the 2D action platform first. I've created these branches to show what we'll be covering, and hopefully it covers my mouse. Let me just make it bigger. It's not capturing my mouse. Sad face. I'm gonna see if I can. Properties. Capture mouse cursor. Yes, but you want to capture our mouse cursor. Settings. I don't know if we can actually make it capture a mouse cursor. This is also going to be in 1080p because why not? And it's going to be in maybe we'll say 60 FPS. I was thinking whether or not I'd make it 60 FPS. I'm gonna make it 60 FPS. Okay, so we got 2D action platformer, and you can't see my mouse, but it's the middle one. And then if we branch upwards, we'll have multiple weapons. So it's gonna be a 2D action platformer. So it's gonna be like kind of 2D, side scroll. So you jump across multiple fields, and your weapons are gonna be quite simple. Maybe a simple gun, maybe a simple axe, or something like that. But there's gonna be multiple of them with power-ups, kind of like Mario. To the right of that, there's stages, and stages are essentially your levels. These are throughout all the examples are gonna be stages, and these will branch off into a kind of a list of all the level design and all those little nitpicky things that you'll find. So we'll be going through how to make obstacles, how to make environmental obstacles, which are different than obstacles. Obstacles like a spike, and environmental obstacles like a hill. So essentially, the big difference is an obstacle is normally man-made, where environmental obstacles is how to make obstacles without actually just slacking a big pit in there. You can kind of make the mountain really high, and then obviously you got that really steep part, and that can be a obstacle. Your enemy placement. This is very important, where you place all both your enemy obstacles and your actual enemies. Like, I don't know, for example, Mario, Goombas, and maybe spikes or whatever, right? You've got your tips and tricks. These are all the little things of how to build a good level. All the little tips and tricks, where to put things in. I'm not a good level designer, but I can kind of go over those things, and we'll be watching other people's videos and stuff, and try to collect all the ideas together into something that I think is quick for you guys. And obviously we'll include those people. There's dying functions. This is how to die, how to actual restart a level properly, by keeping music still running, how to, obviously music is always in here, and all that stuff, so how to, make it so the game still feels flowing. So if you're doing a hardcore game, you can make it so you die and you instantly respawn. So there's no, oh, you die everywhere, so it doesn't, like you see Meat Boy, you die 100 times, there's no slowdown. It's fine. There's difficult jumping, dashing, other sections. Now, this is one of those things that's very important if you're doing like Sans to Meat Boy or any puzzler, so like a kind of parkour thing where you have to make sure all your jumping things are difficult, but they're fair. As the next point, they're fair but challenging. If you want to make a challenging one, sometimes people don't, and that's different. And that's where this really doesn't come into Creator, maybe too much. Next, if we go to the very kind of right section of the little web thing, we find something called platformer. These are essentially going to be in each one, and they're essentially going to be the generalization that comes from each one. So the things that normally come to thought, the conventions. That's what I'm thinking of. So a convention platform is controls. So very good controls. We're going to go through how to make very good controls with little input delay, with all that stuff, right? We should be pretty well making that kind of stuff. Then you got abilities, and these are going to be very important. High use abilities like jumping, dashing, all this stuff are very important. And obviously level design comes in here, but I mean, it doesn't really matter whether or not I link these up. Now if we go kind of the bottom right one, that says menu plus options. If we kind of keep going like clockwise, this is going to be going for how to make a menu option, a menu, a main menu, and an options menu. And how to make options work and how to do stuff like this. This is obviously Unity, so we won't be able to do a lot of settings, but we can turn things like Go, maybe if you want Go in game off and on and stuff like that. It's pretty easy. Music plus FX. This is basically music plus special effects. For example, shooting sounds, hurting sounds, jumping sounds, all that stuff. How to make those things. Music I mostly got, so I won't be going through how to do that. But maybe special effects, maybe we may do a little thing on that. I'm not very good with them, so that's like very minor, and that's gonna be like at the very end and very very minor. Next theme. This is really where you can input a lot of your ideas. Obviously, which one you want, but like for like these three. But this is really where you can import whether you want fantasy to the action platformer. This is obviously side-scrolling, not top-down, with sci-fi, modern, etc. All these things very important that you choose. If you keep going clockwise, we find multiple enemies. There are going to be multiple enemies, and there are going to be bosses on those multiple enemies. Whether or not it's like maybe we have one game that always continues. There's no like stage screens, just continuing. Alright, but maybe it does have a state loading screen, but maybe that loading screen is going from one side to the next side. What kind of game from one scene and then just go and kind of like zooming right around to the next scene. So it feels like you never actually change between levels. It feels like it's one big game, right, that you just keep playing. Maybe you do that. Maybe it's a 10-minute game. It's very quick, but you can consider this feeling of you can continue going. Guys, that's it. Alright, boss is pretty self-explanatory. So that's the main one. There'll be a few other things too. I didn't say any junk, and the rest I have said and other kind of stuff. But like, there is other kind of anything to do with a 2D action platform will most likely be in there. Next, Battle Arena SP MOBA. I'll just say the 2D action platform is the easiest to do. SP MOBA. This is basically a single player MOBA. So single player League of Legends, we kind of just verse AI. You go, oh, that sounds so easy. Yes, but they don't have a base. You do. So you just go to survivor zones. You can. That's normally how it works. Normally enemies swarm right around you and kind of come in. So there's two ways we can do this. We can actually have like a MOBA kind of feel where they've pathfind and they come towards you, or we can just have a big arena where enemies just spawn, and they kind of all come into you. And that's if we do the second idea of where they spawn and come into you, that's gonna be quite easy. Right, and that's going to be an simple idea, and we're not going to go into the real big hard pathfinding and all that stuff. And your target base bonus is that'll be you, and all these conventions will be kind of neutered, but there'll be still jungle bosses, there'll still be multiple enemies, there'll still be gold farming techniques. Most likely, the jungle bosses may be switches and spawn like hard enemies and stuff. But regardless, it'll be if you're gonna verse AI, there's gonna be gold farm techniques. You may want to give the gold, but stuff. There's gonna be multiple enemies that spawn. So I'll actually start again. Let's go from the top again. So weapons multiple. So just go straight up. Weapons multiple weapons, and you can power them up by maybe have power ups or buy new gear, or maybe decide what we choose. And if we go clockwise, we find stages as we had before. Level design, as I talked about, pathfinding, gear, enemies that spawn over time and are random, pretty self-explanatory, bases, maybe some tower defense elements, some lose conditions, how to make a good map, some tips and tricks for balancing things, and other kind of stuff, right, just the simple conventions of a battle arena. Right, and if we keep going clockwise, we found the same thing. Battle arena. Normally you have a target. and normally enemies spawn and attack you, all those conventions. Now if we keep going clockwise, menu and options, and music and FX, if we just keep going clockwise. Now if we go essentially kind of left or battle arena, so clockwise again, find theme, exact same thing that we had before. All these things are going to have these bottom kind of 3 options. I'm using my mouse, I wish it could. I don't know whether or not I can show you, but it's not appearing on my little preview. So maybe it is for you, but but not for me. And I would talk about multiple enemies, jungle bosses, which are essentially hard bosses that just you get extra gold from. So if you want to increase the difficulty, you can spawn these and gold farming things. So it's essentially a better arena. So it's kind of be a pretty we different game that we think it's not quite of interest. Now Binding of Isaac Ripoff clone. This is going to be practically a direct clone. So I may use sprites. I don't even think I can get access to the sprites. So it may even be the old Binding of Isaac sprites and stuff like that. I don't know if I can get access to the new stuff. The head's itchy. And this is, we'll just go up. And there's multiple weapons. Essentially, these are item pickups, right? Essentially, if we just look at this. He's really itchy. Essentially, these are item pickups. Maybe 2 things that change how your quotations tiers work. Clone may mean that we may have a gun or something else. We may just use secret tiers. All that stuff we'll be talking about. The next stages. So if we go clockwise, we find stages, and then we go up. Proceed level design. So procedures design levels with random item pools and such. Whether or not we actually have a random level, and whether or not we have a random item pool, is totally different. So you may have a level that you may want to keep coming back and keep trying, and maybe there's 8 basic levels, and to get to the next levels you have to beat all the 8 basic levels, and then so it's kind of the same idea, but they each are a lot harder, but you can kind of play them over and over again, and maybe there's more environmental or more random stuff that will just kill you, but that you learn over time. So eventually you may finish the first step, but now you don't do the second one. So maybe you have to kind of do the first one again just to get to the second one. And that kind of sense, if maybe we don't do it, maybe we can see you can just jump to the second one. I don't know. Maybe a seed engine. That's very end stuff. That's don't even calculate whether or not that'll be in there. Random enemies, that'll be in stuff if we don't do procedure design levels, these will be random enemies. Yeah. But you can get used to the levels. I am waving my hands and doing other things, but you won't see them. Multiple characters. So each character will have their own traits, more health, less health, all that stuff. Areas they can only reach if flying plus other. For example, maybe there's a swimming technique, maybe there's a flying, whatever. We can go for that. Maybe a layering system that layers on elements when picking up items. So I don't know how they handle layering system, but what we'll do is we'll have a layers. So put layers upon layers. So you pick up I know you get I don't know, tears coming down your eyes, and then you pick up next item and you get something on top of that. So you keep getting these layering systems that really make these weird kind of interactions. But I mean, maybe that's what you're looking for. I don't know how hard layering systems are. I just came up with the idea, and we'll have a look into that. I'm sure we could do layering. Yeah, it's not too bad. Shops and other special rooms. Now this is something very different. Whether or not we talk about having random generated shops and stuff, that's a lot of hard random generating code, and it's a lot of work. So I probably won't be doing that. So if you're looking at this, you won't be seeing randomly designed levels. You'll most likely be seeing random pools, random enemies, all that kind of stuff. But maybe we may get to the point of random design levels. I don't know how they did it. Maybe I find it such easier than it looks, but it's probably not. Probably not. Getting the camera to move and such is not too hard. If we have, because right now I'm not talking about big rooms or any of those other stuff. So as long as we don't have that, it's not too hard. Because if you actually look at their big rooms, it's not a great script, right? It kind of just falls down. It's really dizzy script and stuff like that. So I mean, it's not great, but it works, I guess. So maybe we don't have big rooms. That could help. Also, I made some more a Binding of Isaac normal kind, maybe it's not 3-birth kind of thing. Shops and we talked about, and then there's other stuff too. So next we go roguelike / roguelite kind of things, right? So you're dying, you lose everything. Usual kind of stuff. Maybe there's multiple final bosses. That could be something. You know, you have as I said, multiple paths that you take because that's in a normal Isaac one. But maybe in this, maybe if you do, let's say for example, there's 3 sets of level 1 levels. There's basic set, there's, I don't know, for example, let's say A, B, and C, and A leads to boss A, B leads to final boss B, C leads to final boss C. And once you complete all those, maybe you have the chance to do all 3 of them. So you do 3 times work, and you also and you have to beat 3 of the bosses. But you verse a final boss that maybe finishes the game. Heart system, I've rebuilt one. It's very easy to build, or it's not easy to build. It took a very long time, but I can implement that, and that's one of the reasons I thought I could maybe do this right there. Spacebar system, that's still quite easy. Now the biggest thing is, how do you know when we clear a room? That is one of the hardest things, is how do we know when we clear a room? How do you know when we clear a room? And that's one of the things where we sit down and go, what do we talk about? How do we know when we clear a room? Well, do you just do a check within the room's meter? What I think we do is whenever you spawn an enemy, that's when you go to a room, you go number enemies +1. And then whenever that enemy dies, you go number enemies -1. And whenever the number of enemies equals 0, you've ended your room. Yeah, you do say, I mean, probably won't work, but we could work our spacebar system, right? Money, bombs, keys, beggar, others. So dropping random consumables. That's quite easy, right? So what you'd probably do is, because we know all the rooms layouts, if we're building it ourselves, that means we know where the middle of the room is. So we can go, okay, about there. Or maybe we spawn it in on the player. So we maybe get the X, the Y, we randomize a bit so spawns are quite far away from them and stuff like this. Simple. Others, maybe we have an inventory system, maybe. Menu plus options menu, maybe very just simple bare bones, maybe not. Maybe we have a bunch of filters that go on top. I don't know whether or not that's particularly easy, but we can have a look and stuff. Music plus special effects. Now, I've got a bunch of music, sorry about that, but the special effects we can still do. Just do simple special effects. I'm getting a new microphone, so I'm sure I could do some recording with special effects on that. Theme. This is really big. If you want a fantasy Binding of Isaac, that's really cool. If you want sci-fi, modern, this is some really cool ideas, right? Multiple enemies. This is really big. There's going to be thousands of enemies that can spawn, right? Bosses, whether it's hard or it's easy, all this stuff. And there's the final game bosses, which I have a link to here. Then maybe a final game. So there's stuff, there's a lot. This is probably the one I'm most excited for if I was to build one. Alright, this is one I'd be rooting for. This has got a lot of potential. Could be a lot of fun. It would be a lot different from the game. It would be basically a clone. I don't know what would do much different, but it would be an interesting clone that maybe could spark some inspiration. It would never be sold, no, if you're wondering. It just would be too much of a clone. I mean, it would be having layering systems, shops, all this stuff. Now, other ideas. Do you have any other ideas? Please inbox me, please comment on this video. Maybe you just want some small little gimmicky things like a Flappy Bird game or another game or like another mobile game, or maybe just if you want to do what I'm doing right now, like random stuff like heart systems, health bars, and main menus, music, all that kind of junk. Maybe you just want a bunch of stuff. So ask me things like that. I can give you a bunch of things. Thanks guys for watching. Really, I'm saying thank you. It's a big thing. Saying this, this is a really saying that I really want to talk about, and I'm really excited for you guys. Thank you.